So let's talk about this, in-season tournament day yesterday. Yesterday for the in-season tournament, we had a few games, and I want to talk about them as I saw most of them and can tell you some stuff about them. First, I want to say congratulations to LeBron James. I know that he's not the most popular when it comes to the people, as a lot of people hate, or a lot of people, like the GOAT debate a lot. But he scored his 39,000 point yesterday, which puts him in elite category. LeBron James has been nothing short of phenomenal. He's been great. He's been really doing it in impactful way for his team, winning a lot of games. He's got a positive record, and honestly, yesterday with the in-season tournament, we really saw him put on a performance because even though he only put up 17 points, he blew the Utah Jazz out by 32 points. This, game was a very good game, and honestly, we had guys who were just playing really well. Mostly what the Lakers, win was predicated on was the fact that they outscored Utah every quarter, and it was not hard for them. Originally in the first quarter, they just went off, scoring 32 points to Utah 17, and then from there, it just seemed like they were better than them at everything. They had 10 more assists, they had 10 more rebounds, they had the same amount of steals, they had two more blocks with less turnovers and less fouls all in all, right? They were shooting great. A lot of guys got to play different roles. LeBron and AD actually got to play less than 30 minutes each, and the only player who played over 30 minutes was Taurean Prince, and he didn't have that good of a game, but he was still a plus 26 from the floor. Shout out to LeBron James, honestly. Scoring his 39,000 points is amazing, and as much as a lot of people, like to hate or like to, make judge him in some ways, I do believe that we need to celebrate this as an NBA community because this is never happening again. With the Suns and the Blazers, we saw this game originally start just the Phoenix on a steamroll, and then they kept steamrolling, and Portland tried to do something in the second quarter, but they never really did anything. It was mostly known that Phoenix was going to win, and even if Portland tried to do something, Portland is not good right now, and when Shannon Sharp doesn't have a good game, it's hard for Portland to really, pop off. Shout out to Jeremy Grant, DeAndre Ayton, and Malcolm Brogdon. They actually played really well, but it was just not enough to push this team to the win over the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix has been amazing, and that's mostly due to Kevin Durant just being on a tear. I feel like this is the 1 year in a while where we actually get to see Kevin Durant in his full form. He's focused, he's good, he's locked in, he wants to win every game, and he's playing like it. And this is what Kevin Durant looks like when he's actually trying to win every single game. First, apart from that he wins a lot, he is very consistent. He drops a lot of points, and he's not playing around. His efficiency has been amazing, and from three, he's been shooting like 54% for the season. And this is the Kevin Durant that we know and love. This is superstar, supersonic KD, and this is the guy who we really, need to pay attention on, that when the playoffs come around, this might be the best player in the world by far. Then we have Devin Booker, which also played great. For this Atlanta and Pacers game, it was probably the most interesting game yesterday. These teams scored 150 points each or more. It was a close game in the end, and shout out to Buddy Hield because in the end of the game, he made, all the clutch shots that he needed. He made every single three-pointer this game, and even though Tyrese had 37 points and 16 assists in crunch time, Buddy Hield really managed to close this game. The biggest thing for the Hawks that they suffered in was the fact that they blew a 20-point lead. They were up a lot on the Pacers, and they were really making it happen, but because of the Pacers' third quarter, the Pacers were able to win. I do want to say that shout out to DeJounte Murray. He played great this game. Shout out to Trae Young. Shout out to Clint Capella. And shout out to all, these players from the Hawks because they all played really well when it comes to percentages and the way that they did it. They shot 60% from the field, 48% from three. And the Pacers did the same thing. They shot 60% from the field and 49% from three. The only thing is that the Pacers, hit more threes, and that was really the game changer. I do want to say that as I was watching the end of this game, it did look like Atlanta was out of offensive plays in the end, and it did look like these teams were playing terrible defense, which is something that really bothered me because as I like defense. I like watching teams. I like watching teams who can lock down, who could really get it together and make themselves a threat on defense, and I haven't seen that from any of these teams, especially the Pacers this season, as they've had one of the worst defensive ratings in the league, right? Then we have another very important game. This game, it was the Magic versus the Raptors. It was in Orlando, and the Magic just won them. They blew them out. If we're being 1,000% honest, the Magic have been amazing this season, and it's really there's something to say about them being in the playoffs right now with this young of a team. Now, I'm not going to tell you that their schedule is the hardest, neither am I going to tell you that they are the best, but honestly, the Magic this season have really been able to put it together. A great game from Jalen Suggs. Paulo has been consistent, and Paulo this season has been averaging 19 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists on 47% from the field and 41% from three. He's been amazing. He's been confident, and he's been leading the Magic to a great season. And I want to say the shout out to their coach for making it all make sense. When it comes to the Raptors, in my opinion, just need to give up. They have a great team. They have Scotty, but they need to rebuild harder because they're still getting way too many wins to be good. I like Dennis Schroeder. He had a phenomenal game. He didn't miss from three, and he really put the team on his back. But it seems like the Raptors this year are going to have the same story as they have every year. Where they go, they try to compete. They win enough games to not be terrible. They lose enough games to not have a chance to do anything. But in the end, they just end up sad. And honestly, I do believe that the Rockets need to fix that. Then finally, probably the most interesting game of yesterday was this Cleveland and Philadelphia game. An overtime game, extremely clutch. It went to overtime, and it really was predicated on the fact that Philly just uproared a comeback from nowhere. Cleveland beat them on the first 2 quarters, and on those second 2, Philly stormed back with everything that they had to really put themselves in a position to tie this game. In overtime, it was mostly, the Darius Garland heave, that he threw, and the Jared Allen bucket in the end, which was just fundamental. But it had mostly to do this game and the Cavaliers win with Darius Garland. In this game, I don't think Donovan Mitchell played, and it was obvious that they needed a spark to really win this game, as there was a lot on the line for the in-season tournament, and in the end, the Cleveland got the win in Philly's house, knocking them out. Now, with that being said, I do want to say shout out to Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid dropped 32 points and 13 rebounds with 5 assists and 5 blocks and 2 steals. He hit a clutch shot, and even if he couldn't make that one to win the game in the end before overtime, I do want to say that he did as much as you could expect from him. If you watch the game, it was mostly in Tyrese's hands at the end of them, and in my opinion, that's where the problem came in. Tyrese had a great game. He scored 30, but he was inefficient from three. And the shots that he was getting in the end of the game, like there was a layup which he was wide open, and it was just because it was kind of fast and he was driving in way too fast, he didn't make it, and that cost them the game. I do believe that this 76ers team is great, but their defense to close out this game was much better when they had Pat Beverly on the floor, which made that extremely tough floater, to really put them up. I do believe that this team is running into a problem, and it's the fact that they're late game defense. But back to the start, and I just really want to talk about this. LeBron James did it. And I know that it's redundant to talk about it so much, but LeBron James has now scored 39,000 NBA points. Something that's never been done, something that has never been even thought of for most of NBA history, has now been achieved in just 21 seasons. I know that it hasn't been easy, and I know that he's probably making it look way easier than it actually is. But the fact that we can see that he did this yesterday in this game and broke this barrier, and the fact that he's most likely going to get to 40,000 points in an NBA career really is something that we don't appreciate enough. I want to say shout out to LeBron, shout out to the Lakers, and shout out to this record because this is amazing for NBA history.